What's going on, everyone? The Occasional Detailer here, and today I'm going to show you guys how to go from this to this. And so a smooth swivel is kind of what we all want in a gun. Realistically, it doesn't really play that much of a big role in the grand scheme of things. This swivel, even though it is a little bit stiffer, it actually still works just fine when it comes to moving around a hose. But I know everybody wants smoother anyway. And so I kind of figured this out about a year ago on my old, this is about 6 years old, MV925. I kind of figured this out accidentally. I was servicing a couple of ratchets that I had, and I bought a couple different things with them. Typically you have your grease, and then I bought another lubricant. Grease worked out really well for the ratchets, and unfortunately, even though I was advised that the lubricant would also help out tremendously, it actually really didn't do much of anything. It actually kind of didn't work as well as the grease. But then I got a little bit curious and started playing around a little bit more, and I started adding some of that stuff to my swivels. And what I noticed was I was getting super smooth, immediate sort of impact here. And so I just thought I'd share this with you. Again, been sort of holding back on this for a couple months now, but it's probably about time that I do share this with you guys. So what I've got here are two pretty much identical guns outside of the age. This is 6 years old. This is brand new. Everything else is more or less the same. I love this gun a lot. To me, it's the best in-hand feeling gun that there is out there. And then just in general, it doesn't have that really stupid angle that the MTMs and the Mosmatics have. The only downside, if you were to compare them to either of those two guns, would be the fact that the swivel is a little stiffer. Again, in the real world, when you're walking around a car and you need your hose to actually move around and not get sort of tangled up, this still does exactly what it needs to do on its own. But again, I know having a smoother swivel is something that's very appealing to a lot of other people, and so that's what I'll be showing you guys how to get done today. All right, let's quickly go over what we're going to need. So obviously, we're going to need our gun. That's going to be first and foremost, right? This is what we're going to work on and improve. Then we're going to need a screwdriver. This happens to be a ratcheting screwdriver from ltdstore.com. That's what's going to allow us to take this apart. And then what's going to help us in sort of making the swivel much smoother is going to be this. It's going to be Super Lube multi-use synthetic oil. I use their multi-use synthetic grease on all my ratchets in order to keep them nice and lubricated. I tried using these on, or rather using this on them as well. However, it didn't end up working out anywhere near as well as the grease did. And so that's when I tried to use it on the gun, and that worked out tremendously. So in preparation for this video, I've actually done this a number of times. Obviously, I've done it on my own personal one, but being that I offer the MV925 as part of the packages that I sell at theoccasionaldetailer.com, I've actually done this 5 different times to really figure out what would be the most optimal way for you to do this and the easiest way. Because what I did on my personal one is I took the entire thing apart. I also took out the actual plug itself. And so what I did was I lubed up multiple different portions of this gun in order to get it as smooth as it does. And in sort of doing isolation tests and also doing the exact same thing that I did here multiple times over, I've kind of found out what gets you sort of the best result with the least amount of effort. And that's what I'm going to show you guys today. And so we'll just get started with disassembling the gun here. So I'll put these aside. And I might fast forward a little bit here. I might do it for you and just cut it out. But we're just going to take all these screws out one at a time. And yeah, this is probably going to be boring, so we'll probably just do a jump cut. All right, so I got all the screws out. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to pry this apart. It is new, so it takes a little bit more effort. Once you've done this a couple of times, it gets a little easier. The bottom part is always the part that's most tricky. Come on. There we go. And so now we can see sort of the internals of the gun. What we're really going to focus on now is going to be this bottom part. I did mention that on my personal one, I did a couple different things and I removed the plug. In this case, we're not going to do that. And the reason why is in isolation, what I did with this, with another gun, actually not this exact one, because this one's not even assembled yet. I've actually gone ahead and lubed up this bottom portion on the inside as well, because, and I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up, but there is some grease in there. And so what I thought was that I could supplement that. And in isolation testing on 2 different guns, That really didn't change much of anything. If anything, like we saw maybe a 10% improvement, and I'm kind of making these numbers up, right? I don't have a really good way of testing the difference, but it is very apparent that there was a very, very minor, insignificant improvement doing it from the bottom here, removing this plug. So we're just not going to waste our time doing that. And so what I'll do is I'll finish taking this sort of apart here, or really just removing the pipe assembly here. And what we are going to focus on now is going to be the swivel section over here itself. And so there's going to be a little bit of a gap, and maybe I'll just zoom in a little bit more so we can see that a little bit better. So hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better, but there's a little gap here, and that's kind of where you get the swiveling action. And what we're going to want to do here is that's where we're going to want to take our super lube and sort of apply that. You can do this generously. For demonstration purposes, I'm only going to do this one time. And you can either turn it like I'm doing right now, or what you could also do is, and what's more effective is if you actually just lift this up and sort of go all the way around. But for demo's sake, I'm just going to do this. And what also helps is if you kind of like, and I'm not sure if the microphone's going to pick that up, but you can almost kind of hear it sort of pumping. And that kind of helps work that in a little bit. What I've also found, and this is also true for ratchets, and mainly what I kind of got from ratchets and kind of repurposed here, is that once you've kind of done this, you do want to turn this a little bit. That's going to help it flow a little bit, because you're going to cause a little bit of friction, which is going to cause heat, which is going to help this kind of get a little bit thinner and move throughout the system. But that's more or less all there is to it. Again, to get like the best, like doing it this way gets you like 90%, or at the very least 80% of the way that I was able to get my old one. What I did on my old one was like I did that twice up here, and I did it, I believe, once in here when removing the plug. But again, I found that if you just lube up this portion up here, that's the part that really makes the biggest difference, and where you're going to get the most gains is from lubing up that portion up here. And so that's probably what we're going to do today. And again, just want to do this a little bit and then do some turns. That's also going to help get all of that in there and lubed up. And you can do this twice, so we'll just do it one more time, right? Oops, that was a little bit maybe too liberal. But we'll go ahead and just work that in. Yeah, I made a little bit of a mess there. I'll clean that up later. But you guys kind of get the point, is that you really want to get that lubricant in the middle section there. And so that's pretty much all it takes. After you've done that, what I found also that gives the best success is to not use it right away and not, expect it to be super smooth. It is going to be significantly different. You'll be able to tell right away that it is much smoother. But what I found ends up being best is if you just kind of let it sit for a day, or just overnight rather. I don't know if it's because it allows everything to kind of seep in all the way before you start using it or anything like that. But I found the best success is if you kind of like leave it sitting for about a day or half a day, overnight, and then coming back to it. And that's what ends up giving me the smoothest results. And so what we'll do now is we'll just kind of bring this back here, and we'll just insert this back into place. Let me see if I can do this without moving the trigger. Oh, pop the trigger out. Yeah, trying to do this on camera kind of sucks, but let's get that lined up in there. There we go. So put this back on. And in the same way that it was kind of difficult to sort of take out this bottom part, it's also a little bit tough to kind of get it to snap in on the first time. After a while, when you break this in and you've kind of taken it apart a couple times, not that you ever needed to, I'm just a nerd that way and always need to play around with these things and mess about, right? Then you kind of figure that out. But yeah, this is, again, pretty simple to do. I know I'm taking quite a bit of a long time because I'm trying to explain it, but you can probably get this done in under like 10 minutes or so. Especially a ratcheting screwdriver like this, or if you were to just use a regular drill gun to kind of pull these out and put them back in. I probably wouldn't suggest torquing them down with that. I probably would want to just kind of drive them in and then use a screwdriver to get that last little bit of torque in, because you are dealing with plastic here. But yeah, if you have any questions about this process or about more different ways to do this, happy to answer them in the comments and things like that. But yeah, I think that about does it. With this last screw that we'll put in here, that should absolutely do it. And just like that, we've got ourselves a much smoother swivel now. I was actually surprised that this actually ends up being a little bit smoother than the Mosmatic does if you turn it on its own. So I have the Mosmatic here actually. And this is actually significantly more difficult to turn and heavier than this ends up being once you've actually done this little modification. I'm sure that we can actually do the same thing to this Mosmatic and get this to be a bit smoother. But really surprised at I guess how not smooth this was. It's my first time sort of playing around with this. I got it about a week ago or so. But yeah, I wasn't too thrilled about that. And this is also much, much heavier, more cumbersome. So I don't see myself using this, unfortunately. So it's probably just going to sit around. But yeah, hope this helps. Definitely, if you have a gun that you love already, try this out. It'll make your experience that much better. Again, in the grand scheme of things, your swivel's probably going to do just fine moving around the car and everything like that. But if you really want to get it buttery smooth, then this is something you should try out. So if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe. There's going to be more videos like this in the future in the new year. And so I hope you guys stick around and stay tuned for what's next.